Welcome back, my name is Paul. This is the Making Makers channel where I go through a lot of the production and post-production techniques for making maker videos. In this episode I'm going to talk about sound once again, this time however specifically talking about tool sounds. Now there are some tools that we mostly all like, hand planes, hand saws, even chisels have a really satisfying sound to them. But once you involve a power cord, or in some cases a battery, power tools and machinery don't sound all that pleasant. They're loud, they're usually a high pitch, they're just generally obnoxious. Problem in video content is, what do you do with that sound? Do you just get rid of it entirely? If you do that, there's this weird sort of uncanny valley where it looks like there should be sound, but there's no sound. So is there something wrong with the visuals? And you could put music over the top of it, but you can definitely go over the top with music and offend people because they don't want to watch a music video, they want to watch a making video. All right, so do you just lower the volume so it's at that barely audible part, and then when a loud sound comes on you spook the audience? Still not a great solution. One thing I've been experimenting with my videos over on the Woodnight recently is playing with an equalizer to reduce some of the really unpleasant frequencies. So how did I get to this point? Well, honestly, a bit of trial and error, and then justifying some of my decisions through some theory that I maybe don't fully understand. So what's going on here is I'm reducing frequencies specifically at the 1 and 2 kilohertz frequency range. And while human speech is mostly below that, there are markers at the 1 and 2 kilohertz mark that make speech sound more intelligent. If you cut off those in speech, people tend to sound a little bit less clear and dumber just from cutting out those frequencies. So my thinking behind that is that perhaps we humans hear a little bit more sensitively on those frequencies. So I dropped those points and it seemed to match up pretty well. A bit of spectrum analysis using a shop vac and a dust collector, and it showed that a fair bit of the energy of the sound was removed, allowing most of the sound of various tools, whether it was machines or power tools, to poke through. I use DaVinci Resolve. This is applicable in both the free and the paid version, but in other software like HitFilm or Premiere or Sony Vegas or whatever, there'll be an equivalent sort of thing. First, I'm just setting up a very basic project, importing my footage and normalizing it. Resolve gives you a couple of ways to apply EQ, such as the inspector for clip-by-clip EQ, but I'd rather do it at the layer level, so I'm going over to the Fairlight tab. Double-click the EQ on the layer to bring up the EQ dialog. Then drag down 2 points around 1K and 2K. When played back and toggling, it's pretty clear to hear the difference. I'm not saying this is the definitive way to make tool sounds better in videos, but it's a good starting point. If nothing else, you can tweak those frequencies a little bit more and perhaps get something a little bit better. But different tools will want different frequency removal to make them sound more realistic or less realistic or whatever. So that might be something you need to experiment with. Another technique you might want to utilize is noise reduction. Pretty much all software will come with that these days. You'll sample a noisy area. In this case, I'd probably err towards like a dust collector or shop vac. I find those sounds are very irrelevant for woodworking videos, maker videos. It's more the tool sound that you want to keep. Using that sample of noise, you can then use the noise reduction software or plugin, whatever, and it should remove those frequencies or that sample profile. I find that noise reduction can make the audio seem very tinny. Combine it with the equalization and perhaps some other effects like reducing the overall volume, maybe talking over it. That may not be an issue, but that is something else to experiment with. If you do find a really good technique for whether it's one tool, two tools, or all of the tools, I'd love to know more details, and perhaps we can get that definitive guide for making audio better in Maker videos. Thanks for watching.